on AM 1470 WNN and TrentoVision.tv. Now, let's get a peek at Tom's view of the world. Here's Tom Trento.
Okay. Hi, Mike. Man, what a wild and wacky afternoon here in Florida. It would be kind of neat to be in Egypt right now, but we would need a couple of seals around seals around us protecting us. Not a good place to be in Tahrir Square. I just sent you a picture. Can you put that up as soon as you get it on your email? And I want Mark. I found the solution, Mark, to Egypt's problems.
What you got?
Michael's going to put the picture up in a second, and I want you to validate the picture. Now, for those of you listening on a radio going, what's he doing with a picture? Is that a new kind of radio? No. We do two things here at TrentoVision.tv. We broadcast on a radio. That's this contraption, the spidery-legged contraption right here. This is a microphone. And our voice goes through there like the string on a can when you were a kid. Basically the same way, but it's a big, long string. But we also have a camera right there. Is it up now? Okay, it's coming up, Mark. When you see it, this is the solution, the answer to Egypt's problems.
Oh, that's right. We forgot about
forgot about that.
Mr. Ahmed Badir. Ahmed Badir is Ahmed.
For those, Ahmed Badir. Hi, Ahmed. How are you? For those of you watching on Trento Vision,
I wonder if he's down there right now.
If you've stayed with us for the past couple of hours, you know Egypt is in turmoil, and you go, so what, Tom? It's been in turmoil for the past 2 years.
And for those of you who can't see the screen up, it's Ahmed Badir, our friend down in Tampa, who's the head of United Voices for America, who does the Muslim Day every year. He's in the middle of Tahrir Square waving his Egyptian flag on his cell phone during the Mubarak overthrow.
That was, this is a photo for those of you watching as we simulcast TrentoVision.tv. That's the video side of our extravaganza for your eyes and your head. You're looking at a picture of, as Mark said, Ahmed Badir, Muslim brother, and sort of a clowny type figure, a Muslim clown of some sort.
Knucklehead.
He's a knucklehead, but he prides himself as being a sophisticated Muslim who can. He has a quest and a thirst for power.
Did I tell you about my run-in with him?
We'll need to, we're going to hold that. I want to do some shows on Ahmed at some point.
Yeah.
Because he's become a bit of a, fancy-dancy Muslim in the state of Florida. Yeah. He's hated by most of the other Muslim leaders. Right. I don't know if he knows that. Yeah, well, but in any event, in February of 2011, he was in Tahrir Square, waving a flag, helping overthrow Mubarak. And so we just put that picture up. Maybe he should lead the overthrow of the Muslim brother. But wait, he's a Muslim brother.
But he's not a Muslim. He told me he wasn't a Muslim brother.
He says he's not a Muslim brother, but like Al Capone's not in there. But it was interesting that when Ahmed Badir, who's from Tampa, came back from Tahrir Square in Cairo, Egypt, last February 2011.
Right.
On his way back to Florida, guess where he stopped off?
I don't know. What was his travel schedule?
Oh, I'll give you the airport designation. Okay. DCA.
It wasn't.
Anybody know DCA out there?
DCA.
Okay, I'll give you a better hint. The airport he landed in was called Ronald Reagan Airport.
Oh my God. Well, he just landed at the airport. He didn't go anywhere, though, right?
Oh, then he took a car
out there at the airport,
to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue and was a guest at the White House. How about that?
Multiple guests at the White House.
Multiple times. Muslim brother Ahmed Badir returned from Egypt 2011 and went and had a little visit at the White House. How nice was that?
Well, that was all in relationship to his squashing of the Sharia law for,
Oh, that's right. That
was his. He became the big cheese.
That was this year. Yeah,
he became big cheese on campus when we had all the votes to pass that, and he Well, it's a long story.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing. But that was last year, 2011. This year,
Ahmed Badir had absolutely nothing to do with that, by the way.
with the American laws for American courts.
Right.
You know, that's another subject. But let me show you this subject now. Before we get into your subject, we got so many things going on. Let me go here. And all right, here we go. I'm going to read you another letter. This is Tom Trento Letter Day. We put the video out yesterday entitled This I Know, America is Great. And I got this letter from an individual.
More fan mail.
Yeah, more fan mail, yeah. Tom Trento, : There are Jews in America who are opposed to the illegal occupation of Palestine. And then he gives me one of the videos of those crazy Jews that we run into all over the place.
Yeah.
They hate Israel and they love Iran. And then some other one was some goofy thing. Okay, then he goes on. Defeat jihad, because that's what I had as one of our objectives on the United West side. Defend the Constitution, defend the State of Israel, defeat Islamic jihad. And he goes on to say, jihad equals internal struggle in the practice of one's faith.
The warm fuzzy jihad.
So a person should submit to their lowest whims and desires and not serve God instead. You're making no sense, parentheses, as usual, Tom, ! Try fooling someone who doesn't know any better. Oh, ... What am I saying? ... That's your whole goal, : Trying to deceive others who don't know any better, ... Sounds like the work of the devil, ...
We need to start inviting people on the show.
So I wrote back a little love letter. What did I write this guy? I wrote back, hi, thanks for your thoughts. If you're interested, I'll have you on my daily radio show so that you can make the same points publicly. Would you like to come on the show 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time any day this week? Then in parentheses, I wrote, my guess, based upon many Muslims that send me emails, is that you do not want to come on the show.
Because we'll destroy you.
Right? Best. So he writes back, does that mean you're disputing the facts in these videos? I shared no thoughts with you, only facts. You don't need me on your show to discuss the truth and cease all the Islamic phobic hype. By the way, it's publicly, he corrected my spelling, which was right, and Muslims. He put a capital. I didn't capitalize it, right? I.e., capital M as in proper noun. It is this guy's so anal or woman or whatever it is. I will give you a hint. I don't tell the names, but I will give you a hint. It's got Muhammad in it, okay? It is my position.
That's a real surprise.
Yeah, it's a big hint. It is my position that Muslim scholars should debunk the lies that you and others like you promote. Yeah. I have an idea why they choose not to spend time confronting people like you. But I disagree with their reasons. Unlike them, deportation is not one of my concerns. That's interesting.
Ooh.
Isn't that interesting?
I'll say here illegally.
Yeah. The reason, what the writer is saying, the reason Muslims don't engage with myself and others publicly, they don't want to get deported. You ain't getting deported by President Obama.
You're totally
crazy,
safe. Yeah.
Punks. Man, unlike them, deportation
probably invite you to the White House.
He will. Is not one of my concerns. They allow Islamophobes to mischaracterize the religion and paint what they want to portray it. Not on my watch. With God as my witness, I've been calling out all of you Islamophobes for the liars that you are! ! When will you begin to speak the truth? ? When will you admit to the public that you truly don't know what the hell you're babbling about when you speak of Islam or Muslims? ? When will you do any videos speaking of the crimes by... When will you do any videos speaking of the crimes committed by?
Jews?
Yep, okay. Israel. Okay. When will you speak of the billions of dollars in military aid that the U.S. sends to Israel each and every year? Talk about welfare state, but you and others promote that we should continue to prop up that apartheid state.
Okay.
Apartheid state.
Apartheid state. Yep.
Why, ? Were you also opposed to the U.S. divestment in South Africa's apartheid regime? There's little to no difference between the two.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
Okay.
God.
So I wrote back.
How could you argue with that, Tom?
So then he writes
that's
back.
Such defined logic. I mean, I just don't see how anyone could possibly argue with that.
Then I wrote back to him. Then he wrote back, Tom, don't try to play me. I've seen your videos where you misquoted.
Tommy.
I've seen your videos where you've misquoted Islamic texts and weren't called out for doing so by your guests in your pseudo hospitality. Oh, now you're hurting my feelings.
Oh man, come on.
Come on. I'm Italian. I'm very hospitable. Okay.
Yeah.
I love my friends and my enemies. You can come in, but you are undecided where you are at this point. But don't say pseudo hospitality. You're hurting my feelings. And unlike others who may use the vile un-Islamic, some say un-Christian-like, same thing. I don't have to, as it's unnecessary. I just state the facts, that you haven't addressed.
Well, let's talk about some facts here, Tom.
I don't want. I want to get to your stuff.
Well, let's take 2 seconds.
Go ahead.
Just, I wonder what our friend would have to say about, some quote-unquote that he's dealing with, that jihad is just a warm, fuzzy little thing. Let's listen to the leader of the Muslim Brotherhood, the founder of it. Jihad linguistically means to exert one's utmost effort in word and action. In Sharia, it is the fighting of the unbelievers. It involves all possible efforts that are necessary to dismantle the power and the enemies of Islam, including beating them, plundering their wealth, destroying their places of worship, and smashing their idols. All Muslims must make jihad. Jihad is an obligation from Allah, and every Muslim cannot be ignored or evaded. That's a little bit different, that warm and fuzzy thing that he's talking about.
I wrote back to him, well, it looks like you are one of another group of Muslims who hide in the shadows. No problem. I would too if I really didn't believe what I'm told to believe by the Ummah, particularly when it's put in a fatalistic context of Sharia Islam. It must be difficult to believe that you are better than Jews and Christians, but in actuality, Islam is built upon a false logical system that provides absolutely no assurance of eternal security. Bottom line, either you are correct that Islam is true, or I am that Christianity is true. We cannot both be right. Moreover, Christianity centers around a person, a Jew, Jesus. So I kind of preach to them a little bit.
Yeah,
they hate that.
They hate that, yeah.
They hate it. I say, this could be dangerous. I said, I'd be more than willing to engage in a discussion on these issues, but you could wobble your faith a little bit
That's
there,
right.
Muhammad. If I say Muhammad, am I giving away who the writer is, you think?
I don't know. It's a tough one.
Anything on Egypt, Mike? Any crazy and wild and wacky stuff?
Nothing right now. I'm still looking everything up.
We definitely have to do that Pharaoh dance, the Steve
King
Martin.
Tut.
I can pull
King
that up.
Tut. King
Yeah,
Tut.
King Tut. Okay, that'll be the.
Just a crazy Pharaoh.
Well, first, I'm sure in Egypt they're looking for this.
Barack, help us, Barack. No, but Morsi's definitely calling that tune out. That's his new favorite tune.
But now we're looking for this.
Honestly. A, we've been having bandwidth problems all the time. You gave me eye contact about 3 seconds ago. Now we're ready for this. I'm not Vanna White.
Vanna, put up this
Kids,
graphic for us, please.
This new generation. I don't know. What are we going to do with this new generation? These whippersnappers. Okay, here's what we're doing. Now, while we're having a wonderful time analyzing the misery of Egypt and the spillover, the blowback of the Egyptian situation is going to be devastating for the United States in many respects. I don't see anything good coming out of this because
There's a lot of bloodshed on this thing.
Mubarak was the warden of a prison that allowed good people to have. Oh,
Yeah, but
I said Mubarak.
there you go.
Mubarak and Morsi.
King
Morsi.
King Morsi. Oh yeah, we got to get that in there. Okay, that's the theme song for Mr. Morsi. Mubarak was the warden of a prison. All right, you got to cut. The warden of a prison where some of the prisoners, and I'm using that term very loosely, had freedom to move about and do whatever, but the bad guys were contained and restrained. And it was a 30-year peace with Israel, and basically had maintained stability in the Middle East, which is an explosive area. Now, with him gone, There is no other person out there like that that's known.
Right.
And it's going to be extremely difficult because right now we'll call them the green movement, or not the green movement. We'll call them the Google movement.
Mm-hmm.
The Google movement, these 100,000 people that forced him out of his palace, they're pissed, okay? And they think they made the president run. They think they're in good shape. He's going to come back. If they get their guy in charge, the Brotherhood's going to go nuts.
Right.
Because they just had their moment.
Yep.
And it was pulled just right out of it.
The rug's coming out. Yeah.
Boom. And so they're going to become an insurgency. Egypt is going to become Assyria. You watch that.
Well, yeah, there's just too many
Syria.
too many things going on in there. And here's the pattern, Tom, and you know the pattern as well as many of the experts on TV do. You either have complete, total Islamic fundamentalist rule, or you have brutal, thuggish dictators who come in and crush them.
Man. You broke the code.
But what was interesting is that they're, I don't know how true this is, but they're saying freedom or die. Freedom is antithetic to Islam. You cannot have the two coincide. So that's the reason you always have this brutal thuggery or these, off the chart extremists. And in the freedom concept, you're going to have, you can't, it's like Sharia is not freedom. You can't have Islam and Sharia. Your mind wants to explode trying to think of freedom coinciding with Sharia and Islam. It just does not work.
Does not work.
And so, therefore, it's going to have to be something else.
All right. Well, the other on the northern side, we just talked to David B. David B. in Israel. He told us a little bit about life there with the missiles. He was in the south. We got Egypt in the south, Gaza in the south. But if we take a little ride to the north and to the northeast, you got Syria.
Mm-hmm.
And Syria now, I mean, between golf games, President Obama got tough with Syria yesterday. Did you see that?
No.
Oh, he said, don't you think about chemical weapons. We will be there. We're going to do something. So he can't figure out
chemical weapons. Oh, okay.
He can't figure out how to solve the debt crisis. Playing, I'm a pharaoh. That's the deal. Morsi and Obama both are pharaoh-like.
Pharaohs, yeah. Oh, we should play King Tut for every time Obama comes on too.
That's right. But our intelligence assets see the movement of the Syrian army in such a calculated way that they may be bringing gases together. And several world leaders put out a warning, no gas.
Oh, so they're talking about nerve agents, not biologicals.
Yes, chemical warfare, not biological. We're watching Syrian chemical weapons closely. This is a headline in Jerusalem Post. Among increasing reports that Assad is preparing to use chemical weapons, the prime minister said, Netanyahu, these weapons cannot be used or transferred to terrorist organizations. And Obama said the same thing. So you know a little bit about these, I understand.
Yeah, just let me give you a little quick primer on what a nerve agent is. So there's two basic types of agents out there. There's biologicals, where they're called the oldie moldies. You get the old anthrax spores and everything. And then there's the new biological agents, which are the super ones, gene splicing and all the other good stuff. But the nerve agents on the other side are the nasty ones, because you die a very, very painful death. I'll kind of explain it to you here. If there's a variety of different delivery systems for nerve agents, such as aerosol cans, artillery shells, robot drones, or remote-controlled planes. Just name a few. But once a toxin is released, the effect is pretty much the same, no matter how it gets, into the lungs of its victims. It doesn't have to be the lungs; just be on the drop of its skin. It's very nasty.
Bad? Wow.
It's that bad. The nerve agent is one of the more deadly and potent, and it works incredibly quickly. The agent enters through the respiratory system, the skin, the eyes, attaches itself to the acetylcholinesterase enzymes it can find. And these enzymes basically break down the nerve receptors so you can actually transmit nerve impulses back between your system. Okay. But when the VX gas is introduced into the mix, this vital process ceases to function within a matter of seconds. In the microscopic space between the neuron and the muscle, the synaptic cleft, there is a massive buildup of acetylcholine molecules. 3 minutes into an attack, anyone hit by the VX gas will be experiencing the following symptoms: a runny nose, tightness of chest, difficulty breathing, coughing, eye pain, dimness of vision, and miosis or pinpointing of the eyes. Moments later, excessive amounts of acetylcholine will begin to attach themselves to the acetylcholine receptors inside your brain, your muscles, and everything else. And as a result, filled with the growing amounts of acetylcholine crystal, the victims will begin drooling and sweating, along with severe nasal congestion, tightness of chest, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, cramps, blurred vision, twitching of large muscle groups, headaches, and this goes without saying, confusion. As receptors fill to total saturation, and here's the key: everyone, all the men, women, children, even the animals who are in the path of this toxin will see their symptoms increase in severity until they begin to have copious secretions and involuntary defecations and urination. By now, the victims will be twitching, jerking, staggering, convulsing, and the panic will have most likely set in. And those struck down in fear will feel that they're approaching death, and they will be right. Because within 2 minutes, all the receptors, the synaptic cleft, and each and every nerve ending throughout their bodies will be filled with a milky white crystal. Once this happens, all the muscular synaptic signals will cease transmission and full body paralysis will set in. At this moment, it is impossible, and the muscle groups will begin to fail. Some victims might be lucky and slip into consciousness or coma, but for the majority, with their diaphragms completely paralyzed, they will fight a last torturing battle to take one last gasp of air, and they will suffocate to death. But they'll be fully conscious the whole time.
Oh, God.
Now all this comes from inhaling the mist of one drop of VX sprayed into the air. Now, just the mist of the VX being sprayed into the air. Sarin, all the lesser gases, they work in a very similar way. They're just slower and actually more painful. Actually, the VX, in kind of a sick way, is actually more peaceful because it kills almost instantly. But the rest of them have the same effect, just take a longer time to happen. Now, this is not some made-up theory or something that you did in a lab. This is actually witnessed, thousands of times over. When Saddam Hussein did it to his own people in northern Iraq. I mean, tens of thousands of people died that miserable death I just told you about. And so I just had a caller who recently said there were no weapons of mass destruction and it all was a plot during the break.
During this break just now?
Yeah. She called up and said there are no weapons of mass destruction. Well, I tell you what, VX gas does exist, and there was over 100,000 gallons, I believe it was, that Saddam Hussein had of that in different.
Yeah, people don't. They think it's something has to explode to be a weapon of mass destruction. Doesn't have to explode. I mean, there's stuff goes all over. Here's what gets me though with this. I mean, it's very.
No, it's very cheap too.
It's horrendous what you're describing, but and President Obama. I was reading some of his statements here. This is a red line. If you start using gas, have you seen some of the brutal desecration of children and cutting off heads and cutting out body parts that the Syrian army is propagating on kids, right? Mm-hmm. To me, if you're going to kill people, gas them, right? I mean, you think, all right, so they die. You said one of those gases kills them very quickly. Isn't it a more humane? VX, yeah. Isn't it a more humane way? How does President Obama look at what's going on?
There's actually nothing humane about VX whatsoever.
Yeah, but
it's not.
But how humane is it to torture the Syrian army? Tortured an 11-year-old kid and cut off his penis, pulled out body parts, did all this stuff. If I were the parent, I'd go, just gas the kid, let him die quickly. I mean, the moral calculator that says this form of destructive killing of human beings is, superior to this form, and if you use this more horrendous form, we're going to have to come in and do something. Why is there that sort of thinking?
It's When you try, you start looking at this stuff, and you start. I mean, the more and more you go into it, and it really takes you to a different place. I mean, just first of all, how could this even be considered as a weapon? And all these different gases, even the biologicals. There's some just nasty, nasty, nasty biologicals, and it's not only in the. You just get a loss for words sometimes, just trying to think about this stuff because it's just so horrific in so many ways.
I guess part of it is if you drop it, like Israel's doing this pinpoint killing of jihadis, and the moral intent is to kill that guy driving that car on that road right there. The intent is not to hurt anyone 10 feet away from them. And they have these munitions that can do that. They centralize the explosion. But you throw, that's the mass part, weapons of mass destruction. You throw a nerve agent down there, and the air takes it where it will. So, some little kid could be a mile away.
Well, the way you have to think of it, and the way I kind of came to my conclusion on it, is that the people who use these things, like Saddam Hussein or, and these other despotic rulers.
Well, World War I. I mean, everybody was using it in World War I.
Actually, it was so horrific because Hitler actually got gassed. That's the reason there was no gas attacks in World War II.
Oh,
Hitler,
really? Did he really?
He got mustard gassed, and he had a lot of respiratory problems from later. But even Hitler wouldn't use these gas attacks.
Oh boy!
But what the mentality? It's pretty sick when you think about it. But if you look at it, and where Hitler did use gas was in the Zyklon B by throwing it in there. So
used it there, that's for sure.
But the
get rid of the
thing about it is
lice.
It's the mentality where they think of these people as bugs or cockroaches. Like you would go gas apartment for. That's the same type of mentality.
You have to dehumanize a class in order to exterminate it. Obviously,
and that goes back to that CJ Jew hatred, scenario.
Yeah. Well, let's transition from the moral use of chemical weapons to the fact that Syria may be positioning themselves to use it. Netanyahu tried over the past week or two. We should probably, if anybody wants to call in, 888-565-1470. We get so wrapped up in this stuff. Hi, Tom Trento here, 33 minutes after the hour. It's been a wild and wacky day on national security issues. We haven't given you the temperature, which is 75 degrees in here. The temperature outside, we can't tell you.
76.
Oh, you filled in for CJ. It's 76. The traffic is, Mike, we're getting a traffic report.
Oh, Mike's looking out the window.
No, it's actually pretty busy.
Is it really?
There's a lot of cars out there. There's a lot of cars out there. And along with the weather, the dark part of the day is starting to come in here in Boca Raton, Florida on WNN 1470, broadcasting all over the southeast coast from Miami all the way up to New Jersey. I mean, we got a skip traced signal. I mean, it's crazy what can happen here. Actually, the signal goes all over the world if you have that little application, iHeartRadio. Download that on your smartphone, search in South Florida, put in WNN, and then 3 to 6 every day you can listen to us, or you can carry your desktop computer and a monitor on your back, and you can put a little contraption where the monitor's in front of you, and you can watch us as you're, gardening or whatever you're doing. So we're here for you. Or if you actually have to work during the day, if you're not a Democrat, then when you come home from work, you can go to the archive at TrentoVision.tv and watch these shows at your leisure, and then see all the interesting stuff that we have going on. But the issue for you, Mark, you've done research on all of this. Netanyahu said he wanted to go. He asked Jordan for permission to go in to bomb Syria, but King Hussein said, no, then they're going to want to come over here and fight me. And Netanyahu said, I'm going in if I see the stuff move. Obama says we're doing something. What do you think's going to happen?
It's that whole Iran nuclear scenario. It's the same type of mentality. I mean, they're going to have to. You cannot let these gases go. And so, I mean, they're horrific. And on the biological side, they're just as horrific, but, as chaos creating. Not only do these biologicals create, destruction and death, the chaos that erupts, when these things go off is just
in the food system, in the water system, all of that.
Well, and if you start launching, but the good news about it is typically, and I say, and the Islamic mindset, my research throughout this thing does not typically like setting off these agents because they consider them to be dishonorable. It's not an honorable way to kill somebody, but then again, when you're in the hands of like Saddam Hussein, who did use them, or the Syria leader, his name slips off the top of my head, the Syria president.
Right now?
Yes.
Assad.
Assad, yeah, thank you. You get in the minds of Assad, hey, and he's desperate to do it. Hey, there's no limit on what they would do, and you have to take protections against your society. And if they start doing it, you got to start launching attacks and doing what you got to do. It's
well. Let's look at a possible scenario with Syria. They have they're fighting rebels. They're calling them an insurgency all over the place, all over the country. But there's strongholds in certain cities, and they're starting to build. They're starting to gain control and command of these cities. So now Syria is getting weaker and weaker. The rebels are getting stronger. They drop a few chemical bombs on them. They kill everybody. Right? I mean, it's like exterminating cockroaches in your
that's a mentality
in your garage, right? So versus all the explosions and all that stuff. So if they do that, if they drop a couple,
if they can drop it on their own people, how much of a stretch is it for you to think they can drop it on Israel?
Well, they're saying it's not their own people. They're dropping it on the rebels who are.
They actually think of them as people. They don't actually think of them as cockroaches. They think of Israelis and Jews as cockroaches.
Yeah, but here I'm trying to do the military calculation here. They view them as they being Bashar Assad views the rebels as being people killing his people. So he drops nerve gas on them. Maybe in World War I you can do that and hide it for a while. Now it'll be tweeted as it's falling from the sky. So Israel's not going to allow it because that stuff can blow into Israel.
Yeah, I mean.
So Israel's going to launch.
What I'm saying is, if you start dropping VX gas, it doesn't take. You don't have to be touched by it with the drop. It's just the mist in the air that will start doing this, and it's just you can't.
Well, then what's going to happen is this: the intelligence assets of Israel and the United States and Jordan, they have to know where this stuff is, and the plan is you can't blow it up. Right, because then that just spreads it all over the place.
It puts it in the aerosol.
So they simply have to go in, with some. Is Roger there? Yep. They have to go in and secure it somehow. It's going to be nasty. I mean, can anybody spell apocalypse? Because
this is it just has no good. Chemical weapons have never had a good outlook. Even when Saddam Hussein used them, they completely had reverse effect on the. Because even the troops who do it and they go in there clean up the bodies, they're still affected by it. There's no good outcome with biologicals.
All right. Well, we got to keep our eye on Syria to the north, which because there isn't catastrophic reporting every day, people think, that thing must have calmed down. There's a violent, vicious civil war going on in Syria, and you have very, very bad people on one side and very, very, very bad people on the other side. There's no good outcome. There's two enemies fighting each other. Both fighters are enemies of the United States of America. And there's no interest in here for the United States involvement. Iran on one side, the Muslim Brotherhood, Al-Qaeda on the other side. And they're just slicing each other's throats. So this is a tricky one. Most national security people, not John McCain, he wants to go in and
McQueen,
whatever. So we keep our eye on that. We got Egypt now in exploding down there as they're chasing Morsi out. We got King Hussein in Jordan barely hanging on, though he probably got a reprieve because the brothers have been after him. Now the brothers on a run. We got the Palestinians with their new state going, uh-oh, we just lost Morsi. The pharaoh's running out. Mahmoud Abbas in the PA is probably saying, hey, maybe I'll run the whole show here. What a mess. And the people viled and hated the most, the Jews, are just going about their business, building phenomenal medical facilities, computers, technology and telecommunications, construction, winning Nobel Prizes, putting on the arts, the opera, mounting teams, and they're the vile, hated people. That's why they
Crazy.
are.
Yeah,
because they can produce.
Exactly.
But let's take a ride, Mark. 7,000 miles, Mike, from the craziness of the Middle East, and let's go to Jihad U in your old hometown.
Oh, good. Heading off to Tampa, huh?
Why don't you welcome our guest and
Roger G. How you doing?
Doing well, Tom. Can you hear me?
Yeah, this is Mark. So yeah, so how things going over there at Jihad U?
Well, we're doing everything that we can to pay attention to what's going on, but obviously the other side just plays dumb, and that's pretty easy for them, I guess. In some cases.
Well, let me give you the audience a little setup who doesn't understand what we mean by Jihad U. We actually call it. It's euphemistic term we call University of South Florida. Is actually
Central. This one's Central Florida.
Oh, Central Florida.
Yeah.
I thought you were at Tampa. Oh,
no.
Oh, this is the Jihad U too.
Yeah,
okay.
This is Alan's video. Alan's video.
Oh, Alan's video. I thought we were over in Tampa. Okay, we're actually at University of Central Florida.
It's 2 Jihad U's.
Yeah, and Central Florida is actually getting as bad as University of South Florida in many ways. We were attacked at the. Actually, remember when Randy was there? He got thrown out of there. Yeah. And so tell us a little bit about the history of what you're doing over there, Roger, and what's going on, and as far as catch us up to speed, and then tell us what you're doing now.
Well, I contacted at the University of Central Florida. They had one of their student groups called the Alul Bayet Islamic Society, which is a relatively new student group, and they invited a speaker in, one Sheikh Jafar Ladik, and they invited him in to speak. And the highlight of that particular presentation that he did was that he called the Jews Neanderthals.
All right, stop right there for 1 second. First of all, when you call Sheikh Jafar Ladik, that means he's actually controls many mosques and areas. When you're elevated to the rank of sheikh in the Islamic type of doctrine, you actually have control of many mosques. So he's not just one wacko out there. He's actually a pretty prominent figure, correct?
Yeah, he is a very prominent figure, and obviously that's why they invited him in as their first speaker. They want to make a mark by bringing in someone that's notable.
All right. So what did he say again, Roger?
Well, during his presentation, he said a lot of different things, but during his presentation, he called the Jews Neanderthals.
Okay.
He probably, I have a pretty
That's actually a compliment for them right now, because at least they're above the point of cockroach. At least they're up to some type of human form, but that's okay. We're going in some direction here.
With all due respect to the Neanderthals, they were walking upright. They were the first ones to do that. They actually made some pretty heavy
That's actually an
strides.
improvement. That's actually an improvement in the normal discourse we hear from the U.S. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So I took issue with that because I don't think that he was really using the term Neanderthal as complimentary as what I would. I happen to have a high regard for the Neanderthal. But I don't think that's the way he was doing it. So I contacted one Grant J. Heston, who is the Associate Vice President of and Communications and Public Affairs of the University of Central Florida. And I left him a voice message at first, and he was kind enough to dial me back. And I then picked the communication up with an email back and forth, and I sort of challenged the logic of the university permitting Muslim student associations who on campus, because they have a handbook, the student handbook, which states that they treat all races, creeds, religions, and so forth equally, and they do not tolerate attacks on their dignity and so forth. Right. So I sort of addressed the issue with him on that level, and said, you really should do something about this. And of course, when I brought it up, I mentioned that the Muslim Student Association is a sub-organization of the Muslim Brotherhood, and of course, they don't have a good reputation. They spawned Hamas and connections with Al Qaeda. So, I figure all of these links would be something that you might not want to promote on campus. And of course, he had no knowledge of any of this.
No, it's a surprise to him because he's never heard of any of this stuff. He just popped in off the turnip truck, and there he goes. Okay.
He's also got a short-term memory loss thing going on because through some of the other people that you and I both know, this subject has been brought up to this particular Mr. Heston before. So he has a loss of memory. It's a short-term memory loss thing where he states that he doesn't know anything about the affiliations. But I did send him the information that he said that he knew nothing about, and provided him with the explanatory memorandum for the strategic goal for the group in North America. And that, of course, brought the subject of all of these associate and friendly organizations to the Muslim Brotherhood to his attention. And he wrote back to me in his email. Let me read it to you. It's certainly not extensive. Thank you for the note here and for our conversation last week. I appreciate your passion for this, and I hope I was able to convey the university's position accurately and clearly. As I said on the phone, I'm happy to look at this material. I'll be in touch if I have any specific questions or comments. Best wishes for a great week.
Yeah. And he's the associate vice president for communications and public affairs. So the thing about this, Roger, I know for a fact that they know all about it because they've been hammered on this thing so many times.
You and I both.
And this is just such. They play stupid, they play ignorant, and then, oh my God, it is. Oh, okay. Oh, we didn't know that was here. We didn't know he was part of the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. We didn't know that he was an unindicted co-conspirator. Oh, we didn't know he was this and this and this. Because you know what? We can't do a simple damn Google search. And
it would be a lot of effort. Okay?
I know, because we just
have the Muslim Student Association and CARE that would complain about it, and all of these other Muslim groups that have making great strides and headway in altering what we consider to be free speech. I mean,
they think we're stupid or something, and it's just insulting these responses. 90% of the time, and you're like, I mean. Excuse me, you're bringing in, first of all the Muslim terrorist problems have been happening in the world, don't you think you'd want, as a professor or something, to do at least a little bit of screening before you let somebody in there? And yet...
I think you and I both know that the screening, that their level of understanding is certainly far above what they present to us. They're working with the Muslims, to allow them to present their agenda and to achieve their goals. They work with them on that because they don't want to offend them. And the tactic that the Muslims use is to say one thing to us and quite another thing amongst themselves. You folks, all of us at the United West and Act for America, we understand these things, and how they speak to us one way and amongst themselves as another.
All right. Hey, Roger, we got to have a caller coming in, and let's pick up the... Go ahead. And who's calling, please?
Yes, hi, this is Judah calling.
And Judah, where are you from, Judah?
I'm from Fort Lauderdale. Deerfield Beach.
Oh, okay. All right, Judah, what's your question?
First of all, I want to say you guys are doing a great job. It's a very good message that you're trying to send out. Good work. Just the other day, the Qazi brothers, I call them Qazi brothers. Like
Qazi.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The ones who got arrested for planting weapons of mass destruction, which could have been BX agents, gas, or sarin, or any type of thing, or even nuclear weapons, as far as dirty bombs or something like that. But yes, go ahead.
So my question is, do we have at this time more information to specifically pinpoint what it is that they were planning to build?
No, we do not. There has been no more information released, and and typically in these things, the FBI is really tight-lipped on what they want to do because they don't want to divulge any information until they actually go to trial, but we do have the Associated Press and the Washington Post saying, "Oh, they're misunderstood. Oh, they would never do anything bad or harm anybody. They're just misunderstood individuals." Yeah, and the FBI is persecuting them unfairly. That's the only other update we have on that.
Well, there is one other. This is Tom, Judah. There is one other update, and we're going to try to do it, and you should too. This coming Friday, they will be arraigned in a Miami court.
Oh, that's right.
So,
that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, so most likely they have to appear before the judge, typically, unless there's some extenuating circumstance. Their picture is out. So if you got nothing to do on Friday, you could head over to, we're going to find out what court it is, try to get one of us down there to cover it. This is big news. And what happens typically, Judah, when these guys get busted, why do you arrest somebody? What stage of the investigation do you arrest them? Either when it's going to go kinetic, or if something else occurs, you're going to lose a lot of intelligence in some way. So the FBI and whoever else is involved, I'm sure there's several agencies, they're trying to track everybody down that's been involved with this right now, and so usually more comes out, but not a whole lot came out. This weapons of mass destruction.
That's a red flag, and also the interstate cooperation. That's the.
They drove out of this state and went somewhere.
Well, no, that doesn't necessarily mean that, Tom. That means they were working with someone outside the state, and that was the interstate.
Yeah, well, that's a conspiracy. I think the interstate is you got to go from one state to the other in some capacity. Okay. So they traveled somewhere. Now, what does that mean? I mean, we're way down here. This is interesting. We're going to keep our eyes on this one.
So Roger, so what's the action step out there at the UCF? What's the thing that you're doing, and what are you trying to accomplish now?
Well, I'm going to follow up with Mr. Heston, okay, and stay on him and see if I can get him to have a little bit of recall. And once I can get him to admit that there is a connection between these student groups, okay, or some of the student groups that he has on campus with the Muslim Brotherhood, at that point in time, I expect he'll just shut the conversation down. It's generally what they do. But the action that we're taking out here in the streets, or down here in the trenches, if you will, certainly I don't have to tell you about that. You guys are the forefront of the spearhead, if you will, of a lot of the actions that the people in the streets are taking. But I've been on a number of other talk shows, okay, and trying to deliver the message, okay, that we have to beware and be on the lookout. We're trying to prevent Islam from promoting Sharia law and taking over. And as far as their words are concerned, saying sabotage and destroy Western civilization from within. So that's the battle.
Time is our enemy right now, and so we're going to have to say goodbye. And Tom, you're going to have to take us down the path to
Primrose Path.
Primrose Path here.
Hey,
so
Roger.
thanks, Roger.
Yes, thank you very, very much, Roger. How can somebody if somebody wants to get in touch with you, how can they do that? Real quickly. All right, he's gone. Goodbye, Roger.
Nice.
Judah.
Take care. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks, Judah, for calling in, and we're all done right for now. It's been a pretty wild and wacky day. We will be back tomorrow. We're going to keep our eyes on Egypt, on Syria, on the United States, on Israel, all this national security stuff. But rest assured, you can sleep well at night. We are watching. See you later.
Bye.